Welcome back to Operation Evil. This is episode 106, and I am calling it Her Life Was Stolen at Age 10, The Story of Katie Collman. I'm your host, Nyoka,
I'm Rachel.
and by the time this actually goes live, our 3-year anniversary would have passed. Operation Evil will be 3 years old. Yay!
Yay.
I'm
Just little
very
babies.
proud. It's our baby. Our baby's a toddler. But anyways, another thing too, by the time this comes out, we will only be a few days away. We'll be in between episodes when Alexis and Haven have their birthdays. So happy birthday, Alexis,
Happy birthday.
and happy birthday, Haven,
Happy birthday.
who probably won't listen to this, right?
No, but Alexis will.
Alexis will. So happy birthday. All right, back to business.
Wait, first, I just want to say that I fucking hate technology. That's it.
She struggles every time with the microphone or the video or internet speed or something. Yeah,
Hate it.
but we made it through.
Let's go back to the time when we just could use telephones. Like, that would be something. Like, let's do a podcast where, like, we're using old telephones, talking to each other.
But the quality would probably not be there. Probably. That's my guess.
Don't pee on my vision.
Parade.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Parade.
Fine. Fine. It would be great. I agree.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
Fine.
All right. So, of course, I picked another. I feel like there's more kid murder stories out there than you think.
I know.
But
It's
anyways,
horrible.
I know. So this week is about a 10-year-old girl named Katie Coleman who will never get to grow up and never get to get married or have kids or try out making her own podcast. None of that. Nothing's going to happen for her. And it's just so devastating. So
This
as
sounds-
always,
This already sounds like it's going to be bad. Like,
oh yeah,
it's always bad, but
it's always bad. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how mad you get. As always, listener discretion is advised, especially when it comes to children. So you've been warned. So Katie Coleman, which they just go by Katie, was born on August 13th, 1994 in Jackson County, Indiana, to parents Jonathan, which he goes by John, Cartwright niece, and Angela, who goes by Angie, D niece. She was also a sister to Jessica Coleman. And when I was writing this, it really just made me think like it's hard to comprehend that one day we will all wake up and it's going to be our last day here on Earth. And we're not going to make it in bed that night like you think you will.
Ew, I don't. Mm.
Mm-hmm. And we're all going to experience that at some point. But it's even harder to imagine that a little girl will wake up for her last time, especially at the age of 10. I mean, she was only in 4th grade. She had so much ahead of her.
Yeah, and you're supposed to be carefree at that age, not worrying about anything, just having fun, just being a kid.
Mm-hmm. Katie's last day of life was on January 25th, 2005. She would wake up around 6:30 a.m., get dressed for school, and eat breakfast. Her father said her outfit that day is forever etched in his memory. Katie had on a black pair of sweatpants with white stripes, black hiking shoes, a red t-shirt, and a light blue winter coat. And like any other day, Katie would climb in her dad's Chevy Beretta and leave their house around 7:40 a.m. And they would stop to pick up a girl who recently joined their carpool. And they would talk about the pajama party that's going to be at school the next day. And the girls would arrive at school just before 8 a.m. Katie's last day of school went as normal. She ate lunch around 11:42 a.m., which included lasagna, tossed salad, a breadstick, and peaches. Around 3 p.m., Katie arrives home from school. Her dad, John, is at work, but as normal, her mom, Angie, is there to be with her and to prepare dinner that evening. But what was cute is that, again, the pajama day was brought up again in the research. She was so excited. She was so excited. I don't know if they were doing Spirit Week or what, or if this was just a one day pajama party at school, but she was so thrilled about it that she called her cousin to talk about buying pajamas. So I don't know. It's sad to know that she'll never actually get to go to that pajama party at
Yeah.
school that she was so excited for. After a quick phone call to her cousin about pajamas, Katie volunteered to run an errand for her mom. So her mom handed her $1.10 to buy toilet paper from the Dollar General store. Now, the Dollar General store wasn't far from their home. It was only 1.5 blocks away. The walk would take her within blocks of a home that was severely damaged in a fire from a meth explosion.
Oh gosh.
And the store was just yards away from this troubled man named Charles Chucky Hickman's residence. Her father always told her just to beware of these areas, but overall, the community wasn't a bad one. So they thought. So it's around 3:10 p.m. when Katie leaves to run this errand, but she doesn't return home. And at first, her mom, Angie, wasn't alarmed by this because Katie was known to stop by her neighbor little girlfriend's house to talk. So Angie calls that little girl's house to see if Katie was there, but there was no answer. Again, she's still not worried. The mood's fine. But it wasn't until a little bit later. See, Angie didn't have a driver's license, so she left on foot to go look for Katie around the neighborhood. And friends and neighbors actually joined in to help look for Katie at this time. Again, no one's panicking yet until 7:30 p.m. And that is when Angie finally got a hold of that neighbor and found out that Katie was never with them. So panic was starting to set in. So Angie calls John, Katie's dad. Right after this, John calls the police. By the time the police got to Katie's house, more than 100 people were out searching for her. Their efforts would continue for 5 days. I feel like that's a pretty good community when 100 people, family and friends, join in to look for your child.
Oh yeah, and especially, I mean, just within that short time period, like from, I'm gonna guess that maybe it was like within 10, 15 minutes that, like, where is she? And then
Yes.
people are already starting to
Yep.
look.
Yep. I think that was really cool to read that all these people
Yeah.
joined in. Now, on day 2 of her disappearance, and I just gotta say, I can't imagine you're the parent of a missing child. I just don't know how they're sleeping. Probably not. They're probably not sleeping. They're probably
Yeah,
worried. I
probably
can't
not sleeping one
imagine.
bit.
So day 2 probably felt like day 100, right?
Hmm.
Day 2 of her disappearance, police issued a missing child Amber Alert after a report came in that she had been seen riding in a white Ford F-150 pickup truck about a half hour after she was sent to the store with a skinny white man with glasses driving it.
The Amber Alert wasn't sent out until the next day.
Yeah, it was after they got the report. So maybe someone heard about this little girl missing and they remembered seeing her in that truck. Maybe they
I
didn't know
just,
that they saw something wrong. You know what I mean? Because she, from what I read, she didn't look panicked or anything like the girl
mm,
didn't.
I just thought that, like, as soon as a child is reported missing, that they go ahead and issue that alert.
Well, this is 1994.
Oh, okay. So
You
that makes
know,
sense.
they probably would do that now because they know the first 24 hours is like super important.
Well, and I heard 2005, so I'm thinking 2005.
Oh, no, you are right. It is 2005. She was born in 1994. So I
But
don't know.
still, I mean, still though, 2005 is still kind of, eh.
Eh, Yeah, it's hard to say. But anyways, Amber Alert goes out. They're searching for the girl. Before it's all over, law enforcement officers from not only their county but nearby counties, along with state troopers and FBI agents, were searching for Katie.
Oh,
All hands on board.
what a community.
Yeah, and like FBI brought technology that that small community didn't have. So like all these things were wonderful to have, um all that help and all that the resources to look for her. However, on the fifth day of Katie's disappearance, which was the morning of January 30th, 2005, a police officer drove past a creek where something on the surface caught his attention.
Oh
And the
my word.
policeman stopped and discovered what caught his eye was the body of a child whose hands were tied behind their back. And
No.
the body belonged to 10-year-old Katie Coleman. Now, this case has some twists and turns. So I'm telling you right now, you might want to buckle in. Okay. Like this is crazy. So at first, what happened to Katie was unclear. The family was told that on her way home, she stopped by Penn Villa Apartments to tell residents their dog had been killed on nearby railroad tracks. Another explanation is that Katie witnessed meth activity, either in use or manufactured, and this is somehow the scenario that was ran with the whole thing because after Katie's body was discovered on February 2nd, the initial suspect, 21-year-old Chucky, who lived yards away from that Dollar General store,
Yeah.
he told police that he abducted and murdered Katie because she witnessed someone at the apartment complex making or using meth. And then that confession triggered an investigation that led to several individuals in that area being arrested on charges of manufacturing meth. And at least three others were charged with providing false information on that case. Chucky would enter a plea of not guilty. There was a press conference. At the press conference, Katie's dad, John, said, quote, "I just hate to think that's why she lost her life. Maybe because she saw something that she didn't even know anything about," end quote. Of course, she wouldn't know anything about this.
Mm-hmm.
John was asked a few more questions. He was asked if he would like to see Chucky face the death penalty, to which he answered that he just would like the system to do what they find fit. He was asked about what his daughter meant to him, and he said that she was his best friend and wanted to go everywhere with him, that Katie was a bright, beautiful little girl who just liked to make people happy. Chucky was charged with murdering Katie, and he also faced an unrelated child molestation charge involving a 12-year-old girl that surfaced while he was in jail. But now we're going to give that twist. DNA evidence, some of that was semen, was found on Katie's body during her autopsy. And that DNA, there was also DNA taken from this generic brand of cigarettes that was left near Katie's body at the scene. And this would lead them to a man named Anthony Ray Stockelman. Not Chucky. Okay?
So the cigarette and the semen matched.
Yes. So how did the cigarettes lead to Anthony? Well, this is what's interesting. It so happens that Anthony was smoking a brand of cigarettes that was not popular in the area, and only 4 stores even sold these cigarettes within a small radius of the community. So each of the employees of these stores was warned that if someone came in and they purchased that particular brand of cigarettes, that they needed to report it to the police. And that's exactly what happened. A week later, one of those employees reported a man buying this brand of cigarettes to the
Hell
police.
yeah.
Okay. So the store clerk said that the man who came in for those cigarettes while driving was driving a white pickup truck. Remember earlier when I said that a truck was
Yeah.
reported and they saw Katie in it? Yeah. How
Did he
ironic is that?
and he fit the description of the man?
Well, the police spoke to tons of this. Apparently, this truck was owned by a ton of people. Like a lot of people had a white pickup truck in the community. So they had like talked to all the owners with a similar truck to this, and they already talked to this dude like 3 months ago
Oh my
regarding this
God. Th-
report.
This sounds so similar. And it makes me think like, is this the same person? To this other case. Like this little girl was at a baseball game with her mom
Hmm.
and she was abducted from the parking lot. And it was kind of, I can't remember if the truck was the same color, but it was like a lot of people had saw this truck, saw her in the truck. Is it the same
Wow,
guy?
that
It's
is very,
it's,
very
it's very
alike.
odd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I could see what made you think of that. So it's weird because the police spoke to this dude, right? Like 3 months ago. And guess what? Guess what he looks like? He's a skinny white man with glasses.
I knew it. I knew it.
Hmm. So Anthony was arrested on the molestation charge on April 7th, 2005, when they learned that his forced DNA sample, yeah, they forced him. He had to provide that DNA sample to the police with all this,
So I guess he was fighting him on that.
probably. But it matched the DNA found on the girl's body. And he was also charged with Katie's confinement and murder on May 20th, 2005. Besides the semen and the cigarettes, 14 red carpet fibers was found on Katie's clothes, and it matched the carpet at Anthony's mother's home, who he was helping move furniture the day that Katie went missing, which is along the path of the Dollar General store. And DNA samples found on the rope that tied Katie's hands also belonged to him. So at this time, we all know that Anthony, he was all of the DNA connected to him. They looked into his past, though. Anthony was employed at some factory. He had no previous criminal record involving sex offenses, and he was actually married with children. So when it comes to the DNA evidence, the prosecutor said it best. He said, quote, if you got everybody on the planet Earth in the same gym, there would only be one guy in there with the right DNA profile, and that's what turned this case, end quote. The same day that Anthony was charged with Katie's murder, Chucky was freed. Now, no one knows for sure why Chucky lied about his involvement in the case. Why did he run to the police and say that he did it? I don't know. One article that I read, the doctor said that they think it was like his past heavy drug use. And, that's just where his mind was in the drug use. That could have been a reason. But I'm not sure. All I know is that he wasted precious time where they could have found the truth sooner.
Did like how long was he in there? Did it say?
Let's see. So May 20th, he went in there and he confessed on February 2nd. So just 3 months.
Like, I wonder if he saw something and it was his guilty conscience that made him
I don't know,
confess.
but there's a lot of people out there that confess to things they did not do. And I just don't understand that
Hmm.
either.
It's got to be something in them that they feel regret or remorse for. I don't know.
Yeah. Because why
Because
would you want to do that?
he had gotten in trouble for molesting a child, right?
Yeah, he
Prior.
did. He did.
I don't
And
know.
they only found that out while he was locked up for Katie's case.
Hmm.
So maybe it did trigger this thought. I mean, you could be onto something here. I don't know.
Well,
So
and
yeah.
the other dude,
Hmm.
like, yeah, I mean, at some point they're not going to have a police record until they freaking get caught.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So even though Katie's dad has had some hard times with his daughter's case, he did remain confident that justice will come through for Katie. He also believed that the police had the right man now, and he'll either pay for his crimes in this life or the next one. That's what he said. So, what really happened on Katie's last day, because it was all jumbled up, right? Well, detectives were able to restore the following picture of what happened, and I have a timeline for you. So we all know what happened in the morning when she got ready for school. She had breakfast. She got in her dad's car. They went on a carpool ride to school. She arrived at school at 8. She had lunch at 11:42. At 12:40 p.m., Anthony left his home for his mother's house, which was located along the path that Katie would be walking later. 3 o'clock, Katie arrives home from school. 3:10, Katie runs the errand for her mom to the Dollar General store. 3:35 p.m., a call from Anthony to his wife was pinged from a cell phone tower in the area of his mother's house. 3:36 p.m., the time on the receipt showing Katie made the purchase at the Dollar General store. So she actually made it there and she did purchase the toilet paper. 4 o'clock p.m., around the time several witnesses saw Katie walking the route to her home. So we know from this timeline so far that within the next 20 minutes, Anthony spots Katie walking by his mother's house with a shopping bag in her hand. He somehow must lure her in and he rapes Katie in his mother's house, where the same threads that was found on her body match the red shag carpet in that house. After the rape, he ties Katie's hands behind her and then he puts her in his truck. And we know this because at 4:20 was the time the woman called and reported that she saw Katie in a white Ford F-150 pickup truck with an unidentified man. So now we know from here that he must have murdered her within the next 28 minutes from that phone call when he was spotted, because so he must have murdered her within the next 28 minutes from when he was spotted in the truck. He took Katie to that creek and he threw her in, standing there, watching her die, watching her drown while smoking a cigarette. At 4:58 p.m., a call from Anthony to his wife pinged from a tower that also services the area of that creek where the body was found. So we know where he is. He's probably smoking more cigarettes, watching what he's done. 5:11 p.m., a call to Anthony from his wife pinged from a cell tower near Anthony's home because his wife is there. So the time of death for Katie was an estimated 4 to 6 hours after Katie ate lunch. She ate lunch at 11:42, so that puts her time of death anywhere from 3:42 p.m. to 5:42 p.m. But from the timeline, we can narrow that down even more. So we're thinking that her timeline of her death was between 4:20 and 4:58. I don't know though for sure. I'm just from the timeline. That's what it looks
Right.
like. At dusk, Anthony returns home. When he came home, his wife Tabitha said that he was acting strange. He said to her, quote, "Look, let's sit down at the table and eat like a family while we still can," end quote. Who says that?
Yeah, that's a weird thing to say.
Yeah. The day Katie's body was found, Tabitha drove her husband to her mother's house because he said he didn't want to drive his white pickup truck. And when they drove past the site where Katie's body was discovered, he ignored it. He just looked straight ahead like that whole side of the world didn't exist. He just kept saying over and over again, I know they're gonna pin this on me. After the media was looking for his truck, he avoided driving it. He would borrow his mom's car or his wife's van instead. He was not driving that pickup truck. So now I want to talk a little bit about pre-court and sentencing. So Anthony attempted to obtain freedom on November 23rd, 2005 by arguing that a recent Indiana Supreme Court ruling about Criminal Rule 4C should apply to him. It says that a defendant has a right to a trial within 6 months of his arrest. If that trial is not scheduled, the defendant must be released without bond. However,
Oh, please.
I know. However, on December 6, 2005, the judge denied the request and said that since the defense attorney agreed to the consolidation of murder and child molesting charges and a new date trial of February 21st, 2006, he was denied. And his attorney would also request that trial to be delayed later on, just so you know. So, anyways, shortly after this, Anthony gets a new charge for possession of a deadly weapon in prison. His weapon was a sharpened toothbrush, and he mentioned wanting to kill some jailers and I think even the prosecution attorney with it. So, yeah, he's got a new charge. Now, actual court and sentencing. Before the sentencing, witnesses were allowed to speak, and here is what was said. You're going to love this, Rachel. You're going to love this.
No. I'm ready.
Anthony's friends and family testified that he was hardworking, generous, and a devoted father to his two sons. His brother Marvin said that he would stand behind his brother no matter what, and he also that he had a hard time believing that any of this happened.
Well, sure. Who the hell wouldn't?
Anthony's mother testified that her son was her best friend. She said, quote, "He always did anything I asked of him, and he helped take care of his dying father," end quote. She also pointed out that he was overprotective of her and his children and never let them out of sight. Is that because, Anthony, that you know that people like you exist in the world? Is that why you were maybe overprotective? I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah. And he's so helpful to you that he did that in your house.
Right. Good point. Katie's great grandmother described in tears the little girl who was a joy to everyone, always smiling, friendly, and eager to please. She said Katie was too trusting and easy prey for someone like Anthony. Katie's sister, Jessie, declined when she was asked to take the stand. Poor thing. Now, Katie's father, John, said, quote, "We'll never get to see Katie grow up, graduate, get married, and have a family of her own." Anthony took that away from us. He took that away from her. She pleaded I know. She pleaded for her life, but didn't get to keep it. Today, he's pleading for his, but he should receive the maximum sentence, end quote. I really liked how he said that.
Yeah.
The prosecuting attorney said, quote, "He can't get along with anyone outside of his family. He beat both wives, breaking one's arm with the tire iron. He was never married long enough to have a real relationship with his children," end quote.
But he's fucking generous. And what else was
devoted and
devoted?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He described Anthony as selfish and the rape and murder of Katie as a heinous crime and wrong animal act. He said, "I don't know how long she had to suffer, but he invaded her in every way possible. This is not a man we want on our streets. This is a man we want in prison until they carry him out on a gurney dead." Before handing down the sentence, I know, right? That was good.
Mm-hmm.
Before handing down the sentence, the judge quoted Shakespeare with, quote, "The evil that men do lives after them." He said also believes the evil deeds you do live after you and affects others for many years to come. You sexually molested, bound, transported, then drowned in icy water a 10-year-old child. And then evidence shows you probably stood and smoked a cigarette or two while watching her drown.
And then on top of it, he has the balls to ask for his dismissal or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Anthony was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The judge also added an additional 30 years for 2 offenses of child molesting. Katie's father said the family would sleep a little better knowing the man responsible for Katie's murder is behind bars for the rest of his life. Anthony was sent to prison to serve his sentence. He had no idea that 22-year-old Jared Harris, who was Katie's cousin, was serving time in that same prison.
No way.
Oh, you're going to love this. On September 22nd, 2006, Harris entered Anthony's cell. He put a sharpener to his throat and told him to obey. As a result, about an hour later, he left the cell, leaving a huge tattoo on Anthony's forehead that says, Katie's Revenge. I'll be posting pictures of that too. It's huge, right across his forehead. Oh, yeah.
That is amazing.
It is amazing. That's some karma right there.
Yeah.
But before we wrap things up on this story, I do want to talk a little bit about the community support for Katie. As you know, they all went searching for her when she disappeared. We talked about how wonderful that was. But on August 13th, 2006, she would have been 11 on that day. It was her birthday. And Katie's playground was dedicated in her memory. It's a park that was built next to her elementary school. It was paid for through donations and built with volunteer labor. And then I wanted to give some fun facts about Katie. She attended the First Baptist Church of Crothersville. She enjoyed playing outside, watching the Disney Channel, going into the People's Bank every single day to get suckers, and was known for being happy and having a big smile on her face. Looking back on that day, John said he is unsure what he or his wife could have done differently. He said, quote,
"Oh no.
Most parents in town felt the same way, meaning the safety of the town. You
Yeah.
can't lock your kid in the house. You can't put them on a leash. And if there's a lesson for other families, he says this, don't take nothing for granted. And that will do it for this week's episode. What did you think?
Really sad.
I know.
That father just breaks my heart.
I know. And I will be posting pictures of all of them. Well, I don't know if I have a picture of the mother. I have a picture of the father, but I also have a picture of the guy who initially confessed that didn't do it, the guy who did do it, the tattoo on that dude's face, pictures of Katie. So yeah, all of that will be on our Facebook. But yeah, that'll do it. So if you can't get enough Operation Evil, consider supporting the podcast by joining our Patreon. We have a lot of episodes on there you can listen to and binge. If you can't support us that way, you can buy us a coffee if you want. You can just like our social media pages and share them. You can tell your friends about the podcast. Those things would be cool too. We appreciate every single one of you. And we'll be back next time with a new episode. Goodbye.
Bye.